Today's episode is brought to you by Manoogian Law. Facing a Tarek Skubal fastball is scary. You know what else is scary? Walking into a courtroom without someone who has your best interests at heart. And that is where Max Manoogian comes in. Confidence in the courtroom is his slogan. And it's easy to see why. With over 11 years of criminal defense experience, Manoogian Law is your go-to in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties, as well as all of Southeast Michigan. The man knows his way around a courtroom. Easy to contact and a straight shooter, Max Manoogian is in the business of helping his clients, not nickel and diming those in need. Step into the batter's box with confidence with Manoogian Law. Friend of the podcast, a diehard Tigers fan, and proud sponsor of Turning the Corner. Contact Manoogian Law at 248-973-7527. And welcome into another episode of Turning the Corner, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I am Kieran Steckley, leading off while Cody Stavenhagen, unrings his ears and whatnot. You know this by now. Hopefully your vitals have improved, but if they haven't, I don't blame you. The Tigers, I repeat, the Tigers are one win away from the American League Championship Series. And if I can, I want to start with a personal story. I knew Detroit was going to win this game. So I'm in the lovely Central Time Zone. That's a 2 o'clock start time for your boy today. My normal exit time from work is about 4 p.m. And it's about 35 to 40, depending on traffic, commute home. So I'm hoping to get back to the crib around 4:30. Well, in the pitch clock era, that's crunch time, it was conceivable I might miss the end of the game. Of course, I'd have Dan Dickerson in the speakers, but, that's not the point. I want to watch, I want to see, I want to feel, But my wife came home early from work so that she could go to physical therapy. And she forgot her keys when she left this morning. So I get a call around 1:40 from a rather emotionally fraught spouse, if you would. And that's my cue. It was meant to be. Now, I don't know if my coworkers thought I was telling the truth when I said I had to leave early for a legitimate reason. It just so happened the Tigers were playing a pivotal Game 3 at the same time that this random circumstance, probably will never happen again, occurred. So with all that fortune going my way, there was no way the Tigers were going to blow this game. And, of course, they did not. The final score was the same from Monday, 3-0. But those were two different roads to getting there. So instead of a last inning bomb, like we saw on Monday, Detroit opted instead to methodically build a lead starting in the first inning. But like Monday, the offense came from previously unheard from bats. The Tigers entered today with a 3-1 record in the postseason, despite getting only 2 hits in 15 at-bats from Riley Green. We don't talk about the S word here, but it was sure as hell not sustainable for the Tigers' run to continue without getting Green going. So perhaps it was poetic for Green, still nationally underrated despite an all-star nod and being by far the most successful first-round pick from the rebuild, notched the first postseason run batted in at Comerica since J.D. Martinez's RBI double off Zach Britton in the bottom of the 9th inning in the third game of the 2014 ALDS. And of course, a little ground ball up in the box felt kind of fitting too. Also, any success, different S word, was going to be absent without Colt Keith finding his footing at the plate. So for Keith, it's a tricky thing, I bet, because he's a regular, but right now he's a little bit closer to being a situational player in the tight confines of, a 3-game or a 5-game series. When a righty is on the mound, he's got to be ready. And he was 0 for 11 before he knocked his single down the right field line in the 6th inning today. Moves over on a wild pitch. Again, the Tigers being on the right side of situational baseball, which set up torque. Unlike the previous two guys I just mentioned, Spencer Torkelson is not in the essential category. Now, that's a problem for a different day, discussion-wise, but that's kind of the world we live in right now. Still, you got to have better than a 0 in the lineup set with hitters who get on base in front of them. A 92-mile-an-hour fastball, middle, and a little bit up. I mean, even the most pessimistic of torque talkers, would feel confident he could deliver on that pitch. And let's be honest, we were kind of overdue for a, damn it looks so good when it's right, moment from Torque. And you know what? Good for him. I hope that's a confidence boost for him. Obviously, rooting for the guy. And that's all the offense. Now, we get the Vera Lane sac fly, but those moments are all the scoring output that we got from the Tigers today. So let's go to the pitching. Look, it can get mundane to continue to sing the praises of AJ Hinch and Chris Fetter and the whole pitching coaching staff and Jake Rogers' calling ability. But if you take out the first inning of Game 1, and, as of now, it's kind of like the most outlier of outliers, right? The pitching staff has given up 2 runs in 26 innings. That is elite commands. That is elite execution. That is elite game management and situational baseball against, a highly respected manager and lineup. Now, I was in line with many of you and wanted to see more from Montero than 6 pitches, but you can't argue with the game plan nor how it played out. So, with the chest move and the counter move and all that stuff, beautiful, beautiful baseball. And I know some people will look at the final scores of these 2 games and they'll say, like, not Tigers fans, but they'll say, is it kind of boring? No. If you love baseball, these 2 managers going at it tit for tat, it's the opposite of boring. I love it. And, that's not just the results that I love. Like, I am on the edge of my seat the entire time. Also, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this as somebody who is in the content business, but I'm pretty sure Bo Brisky might be involved in some sort of copyright infringement. Because Brisky, with his 5.1 innings of no-hit ball this postseason, that's with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks, he should probably be the poster child for the chill and make pitches mantra. I mean, no offense to Alex Lang, but, Bo just fits it perfectly. Even when you hear him talk about, his approach and all that stuff, I mean, he seems like he always just comes up short of saying the phrase. And, Will Vest might even have a say for that too, but, Vest is many things. I don't necessarily get chill vibes with him. I love his intensity on the mound. He's slowly becoming one of my favorite players to watch. So, not for nothing, as we have this beautiful day of 4 games of baseball, last one of the year. This had to be what the league office had in mind when expanded playoffs was explored as a topic. So you have all division series split the first 2 games. And then with the Tigers winning Game 3, each lower seed took a 2-1 lead. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens with the Yanks and the Royals. But this is the kind of parity that gets water cooler talk at the office. Objectively, this postseason has been an amazing watch. Emotionally, I'm fired up as hell. Okay, I've blabbered on enough. It's time for my acclaimed partner to weigh in. With me, as always, is a man who can finally hear himself think after a day at Comerica. He is Cody Stavenhagen. Cody, what an environment. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Kieran. What an environment is right. Before I get into the game, few quick thoughts on the crowd. I think the magnitude hit me on the way to the park today. Like, wow, the first playoff game in Detroit in 10 years. This is what this franchise and this city have been waiting for a long time. Even me as a journalist, I've been waiting for this moment to cover meaningful baseball in Detroit for a long, long time. Riley Green talked about it before the game. He's driving to the ballpark from his apartment and he hits all this traffic and it kind of takes him a second and he's like, wait, it's the first playoff game in 10 years. I think you could definitely feel the passion in the building early in the game. Or before the game, I'm sitting in the dugout talking to some people. I look to my left. There's a kid holding a sign that says, "My first Tigers playoff game." And it was kind of funny because it's the first Tigers playoff game for a lot of people, including every player on the active roster. The crowd itself, like I said, you could sense the passion. You could sense that these people cared, and this is something that they deeply desired to be a part of. Now, there's going to be a lot of debate, as The Athletic got some heat for. I wasn't part of that ranking, but like, what's the best atmosphere? Who's the loudest crowd? I'm going to be honest, I didn't think sheer volume, it was all the way there. There was at some moments, but in terms of being on its feet throughout the game, being loud every single pitch, wasn't quite there. But I got an interesting perspective from a couple friends who were at the game. They were like, yeah, it was kind of like that because it was just like this knotted tension. It was very tense and nervous the entire time. So the crowd was definitely invested pitch to pitch in a few of the big moments. Riley Green's RBI single in the first, the liner that Veerling snags late in the game. The crowd was definitely legitimate and amped all the way up. Let's see if the volume can pick up a little bit more as we head into a night game Thursday. And yeah, as you said, a night game that could send the Tigers to the American League Championship Series, which is just not a sentence I ever thought I would say this season. The game today, look, again, you pretty much covered it all, but another AJ Hinch masterclass. Obviously, the manager can't look smart unless the pitchers execute, but you roll Kiter Montero out there for the first 3 outs, and based on what AJ said after the game, it seemed like, AJ always says, yeah, we tell the players, we give them a very clear script. It didn't seem like Kiter actually knew how long he was going to go. He gets through the first and 6 innings, and Hinch pulls him to the side and basically says, "Hey, good job. That was amazing. You're done. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's because this is the plan we're rolling with." And that might have been smart to let Montero function like it was a regular start, any other outing like he's a little bit more used to. And then Cleveland has a lineup stacked full of lefties. AJ throws Brant Herter in there right away, and Herter pitches really well. Stephen Vogt is burning pinch hitters in the second inning, which I don't necessarily blame him for, especially when you have runners on. You're just trying to get something going. They are somewhat leveraged situations, but Cleveland fans do not seem to be happy with Vogt right now. Hinch definitely, obviously, worked himself into a lot of advantageous matchups. Herter's able to go 1+ times through the order. I think the biggest moments of the game were when Fry and Ramirez are due up in two different leverage situations. Bo Brisky gets the Tigers out of one of them. Will Vest comes in to do the job for the other. Those were moments where you feared the game could have swung. Chances where you're not going to be able to pitch around Jose Ramirez. There are runners on base. It's still a tight game, even though you have the edge. Those are things, especially in the postseason, if you've watched any of these other games where the narrative can flip in an instant. That didn't happen for the Tigers today. The pitching continued to just be so good. In terms of sheer stuff, Bo Brisky has been off the charts. Like, really an amazing story when you actually think of it. 27th round pick, worked his way just to be a prospect who was on the radar, and he's throwing 93, and he looks like a future starter 2 years ago in Erie, and then he runs into some nerve problems in his wrist, and at times this year he just looked off. The Tigers are not here right now winning playoff games without Bo Brisky. He has come up. They might not be in the playoffs if not for the jams he escaped in Baltimore and in Kansas City, and here he is again in the playoffs, just delivering. It's really been incredible to watch. Same for Will Vest, who probably hasn't been talked about enough. His stuff has really ticked up into another stratosphere. You covered Riley, Torque, Keith. The guy's really struggling. Got to tip the hat to Spencer Torkelson. He comes in, he's 0 for 14, 9 strikeouts. He's getting crushed on Twitter. I just tweeted his stats, and people just had a field day with it. And he would never admit it, but that's got to be hard for him. And he comes through with a big double, a big hit. Um, Tigers need more of that if they want to win going forward. I don't want to act like it's a foregone conclusion that the Tigers are going to the ALCS, because that's a little bit of the vibe everyone's getting right now. Uh, Look, the playoffs are fluid. The Guardians could easily steal one tomorrow, and then as good as you would feel about Skubal in a potential Game 5, we know how tight Game 2 was. I am interested to see how AJ will manage Game 4. Do you let Reese Olson go several innings, or do you manage it like you did today, kind of like there's no tomorrow. I think he'll go that way and burn the ships a little bit, knowing that if you were to win that game, Skubal is going to be available to start game one of the ALCS. And then the bigger question, even though it's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, can this strategy work in a 7 game series? There are not going to be as many built in off days as the Tigers have had in this DS. I think if you watch the last month of Tigers baseball, you know there's a world in which it can work without burning the whole bullpen. But at the same time, there are some relievers the Tigers have stayed away from. Ty Madden, Casey Mize not on the roster right now. You know, you got 6 pitches out of Cater Montero. But in a 7 game series, I think you were going to have to use everybody. And so that could be an obstacle to watch for the Tigers going forward. The offense, still a little bit of an obstacle, but they've had a way of getting things done. Really executed well today. Parker Meadows moves a guy over. Vierling knocks a guy in with a sac fly. You know, Parker gets on in the first, advances a second. Riley gets a grounder through the middle. That's been this team's MO. It'd be nice. Here's another thought I had, though. The Tigers we saw all season long, run scoring could be like 0, 1, 2, 1, 12. And you do wonder a little bit if the Tigers could have a 12-run game in them. Wouldn't it be nice if they could break that out on Thursday?
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, I want to thank everybody for listening and following along. Cody is at Cody Stavenhagen. I am at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page is at Turn Corner Pod. Links on all of our socials. That's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, to our merch store, Venmo tip jar. We appreciate all of you. Let's see if the Tigers keep the party going Thursday. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I am Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day, and we will talk to you after Game 4.